Thanks for tuning in to your favorite content creator, UTV. To find out more, follow us on our social media platforms: YouTube UTV124, Facebook UTV124, Instagram UTV124, Twitch UTV124, TikTok UTV_124, and Flow TV channel 124. Remember, UTV, TV for you.
I can't
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the show. It is Tuesday, September 21st, 2021. My name is Tresha Lionel, and I am here with you. I know that I missed yesterday. I wanted to apologize before we do anything else. Really apologize for that. Like I said, I was at the vaccination point, and I thought, going there early, I knew it would probably take, 3 hours, and I budgeted for that, and then I would come to do the show, but it took way longer than that. So I just wanted to apologize before we begin on anything else. Just to say that I'm sorry that happened. I know it wasn't any vaccine hesitancy or anything like that. It's just that I've been meaning to, but then the thing with the vehicle and everything else, I've been busy, and I figured, hey, let's just get that over with. So we are here, and I figure why not start with looking at some of these issues. But before we get into that, let me say good morning to those of you listening to us on radio. Our radio station partner, Hits FM 92.1 and 91.1 FM. Also, if you're watching us on television on channel 124 on Flow, good morning to you. And on the social media platforms, of course, on Facebook, on Instagram, Twitter, and Twitch, all of it. Thank you very, very much for being here, and I hope you do accept my apology for not being here yesterday. Now, like I said, it's a strange place that we're in with COVID, the response to it, not just the government's response, but people's response, how it has been over the past 18 months dealing with this, and hearing now from the experts looking at what's happening with the different issues of oxygen. And, we spoke about other issues like COPD, prostitution, bomb, we spoke about it too. But with lives being lost in all of that, and some people using it for their own personal and political gain. Of course, that distasteful is not the word, but it's what I can say on a morning talk show. That's how I feel with these sort of manipulations of the families that are being the families are being dealt a really hard hand now, and they're also grieving. But to do that and to really look at these different particular areas, I wanted to start with Victoria Hospital, the vaccination numbers, and where are we now and where do we go from here?
High consumption of oxygen at the Victoria Respiratory Hospital is emerging as one of the more burdensome issues at the facility, already buckling under the weight of the demands for caring for the high number of critically ill COVID-19 patients. The president of the St. Lucia Medical and Dental Association, Dr. Merle Clark, Thursday's guest on Out Goes In, says some of the patients require significant amounts of oxygen just to stay alive.
One patient is using 60 liters of oxygen per minute. Just try to imagine the amount of oxygen used in that hospital per day. And the wards are full. They've been full for weeks now.
Beyond the need for constant flow of oxygen, the COVID-19 patients at both the intensive care unit and the high dependency unit ward require a high level of specialized medical attention, which is stretching to breaking point the services at the respiratory hospital.
In terms of putting a patient on life support, something called intubation has to be done.
Yes.
It's a process, of course, a trained physician, the anesthetist generally. It's a process whereby they put a tube down your throat, into your lung throat. When I say throat, that's what we most understand, but your throat is, there's the passage where you eat, and exactly, there's the airway. So down the trachea into the lung. injury could occur.
Does it go into both lungs or one?
It goes into the trachea part.
Okay, before
and
the separation.
yes, so it serves essentially both lungs.
Okay.
There could be trauma to the lungs. That's a reality. As I said, you're trained to, in as much as possible, to avoid that.
Yeah.
But the risk is always there. You're trying to intubate a patient who a lot of the time may come in distress. So that patient is not relaxed at all.
Yes.
So you have to give drugs sometimes to relax them. Those drugs in and of themselves could cause further compromise of the patient's breathing. Those are the realities. They could drop blood pressures in patients whose blood pressures are already low. But in medicine, risk and benefit is the order of the day. You have to weigh the risk, and it's the same thing with the vaccines, and we'll get to that as well.
Yes.
You have to weigh the risk of something against the benefit.
Yes.
So the benefit of intubating that patient, getting them on life support, because if you do not, in the next few minutes they will be dead, far outweighs the risk of the possible trauma to the lung, the possible trauma to so many other organs.
With the daily number of COVID-19 patients over the past month stubbornly in excess of 100, the impact is being felt beyond the bounds of the Victoria Respiratory Hospital. What sort of impact is that having emotionally on healthcare workers, healthcare providers?
It's significant, and I would be lying if I said they haven't people said, I've had enough of this, I'm resigning, and it's a reality. The impact, because it's a cumulative impact of all of this. You've been doing this for 18 months, more than 18 months at this point. Under normal circumstances, Stanley, when I go to work, you see your patients and that sort of thing. Now you have to think the whole PPE concept, that it gets hot. It's hot these days. It is hot, you're doing a procedure and sweat is draining in your eye. Yeah. You can hardly see. So those are the realities that you're working in. It's the extra layer of protection that you need. You absolutely need it, because obviously if we all get COVID, we're in trouble. You need it, but it makes your job that much more difficult. Several pairs of gloves, whereas perhaps you'd use one pair of gloves to do something, but that extra layer of protection is necessary. Everything is just made that much more difficult.
The challenging circumstances made worse by the high vaccine hesitancy and the non-adherence to the protocols come as the wily virus continues to keep one step ahead of the effort to get it under control by significant variants affecting sections of the population that had not been previously seriously impacted.
There is a sense in the back of your head that you have an option, because you may have things online of who's vaccinated and who's not vaccinated. 99.9% of the patients in the hospital are not vaccinated. Now, what is unfortunate is that the elderly patients in particular, because even when you speak to them when they're not in hospital, it's somebody telling them not to get vaccinated. Because on their own, they would. But they are the ones ending up sick. This time around, we've seen younger patients. And I think when you look at the deaths that we've had, you see ages, no underlying conditions, a 32-year-old in ICU right now. Half of them, we have very young patients in the HDU and ICU right now. And I think that is what needs to be taken into account. It's not just the elder. The face of COVID has changed in terms of the patients who are critically ill in hospital. And solutions also, we'd like you to understand that.
The high level of frustration among medical staff is at an all-time high. That's according to the SLMDA's president, who says relief will only come with the sharp decrease in COVID-19 numbers brought about by increased vaccination uptake and greater adherence to the protocols among members of the public.
So once again, the advice is, make sure that we are vaccinated. And as it progresses, you start to see the changes, like when Dr. Clark would say this is changing, there's a changing face of COVID, that 32-year-olds and 25-year-olds and 26-year-olds, we know of these instances. They are the ones dying and also in hospital for COVID more often than not. With the oxygen needed, more and more is needed, more than we can supply at this point. And, also listening to workers, the staff members having to deal with all of that. And like she said, some people have resigned because it's too much. So COVID is really forcing on us this pressure on our resources in every way, in every single way. And it's changing too. It's not just the hospital, the wellness centers, if you haven't heard too, they have been closed and scaled down. So it's something we need to look at as well.
Because of the pressure on healthcare personnel resulting from the COVID-19 pandemic, the Health Ministry had to temporarily close some health facilities and strategically reassign staff.
In response to this situation, and to improve efficiency in the delivery of care, the Ministry of Health shall temporarily close the following community wellness centers: Lage Babuno, Tresha Castries, Delce Soufre, and Fort Saint-Jacques Soufre. Clients of these wellness centers are asked to access care at another wellness center within the district. During the closure of these wellness centers, the health aides will continue to provide screening services within the communities. Additionally, the ministry has taken the decision to scale down the services offered at select wellness centers. This will allow for the reassignment of staff to facilities and sites with higher service demand, including vaccination sites and respiratory clinics. Despite this redeployment, core services will still be provided at these downscaled wellness centers, which include the continuation of diabetes, hypertension, and other chronic care services such as the maternal and child health services. The clinic days for these wellness centers are as follows: Canris Wellness Center, Tuesdays and Wednesdays; Vanna Wellness Center, Mondays and Tuesdays; Etangs Wellness Center, Tuesdays and Wednesdays; Saltibus Wellness Center, Tuesdays; the Grace Wellness Center on Wednesdays; the Tiroshe Miku Wellness Center on Mondays and Thursdays; and the Monguj Wellness Center on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. All scheduled doctors' clinics will remain as per schedule. This scale down will be for a period of 2 weeks in the first instance, commencing Monday, September 20th, 2021, and at the end of the period, an assessment will be done to determine the need for its continuity. The Ministry of Health recognizes that these changes may be inconvenient for some members of the public, but requests patience and cooperation as we attempt to meet the healthcare service needs to respond to the COVID-19 situation in St. Lucia.
So our healthcare institutions are under pressure. Some of them being closed down, some scaled down. You heard different things there from that clip, and I think it really does go to show that for all what people are saying, including with the police officers that we know, about 150 of them are home, with COVID, dealing with that. It would always come down to personal responsibility in a lot of cases. With the resources that we're seeing needed, with the pressures that we're seeing, when you have 150 police officers, there aren't enough to go around and beat people and to arrest people and to do what some people are calling for. So it does get to, at some point, when it is in this dire situation, it has to come down to personal responsibility. But I think I cannot speak for the health professionals who have been in that system. I know a lot of people are saying, and a lot of people have said, when the politicians want to fill some space that we've seen in the past, they'll say, thank you to our essential workers and all of that. But I never really thought until Dr. Clark spoke of, being in there and sweat dripping in your eye and you have to double mask and it's hot and some people are resigning. You would imagine that it's difficult, but unless you're there and unless you're hearing the people working there and seeing for themselves what's going on, I don't think we would truly understand it. So hearing, a health worker come out, somebody that we haven't seen, I don't think ever, but coming out and letting us know the reality of it from a different perspective, I think that too is needed.
I am talking to you right now as a frustrated healthcare provider. COVID-19 is no joke. I cannot understand how I still see people walking around without a face mask or people gathering in large numbers. Do you want to come to the respiratory hospital? Do you think it is fun if you have COVID-19? Can you imagine being unable to speak, having chest pains? Can you imagine being so weak, having difficulty breathing, that you think you will die? Having so much mucus that you have to be spitting all the time? People, take care of yourselves. Follow the protocol and stop blaming the government. Okay? The government is not responsible for you not wearing your face mask, not sanitizing your hands, not maintaining social distance, still gathering in large numbers, and doing all kinds of things you're not supposed to be doing. Blame yourself. If you don't want to follow the protocols for yourself, follow them for me. Follow them for the healthcare providers. Imagine being in personal protective equipment for an extended period of time. You have 2 face masks on. You have a simple face mask, then you have the N95. Plus, you have a face shield. Then you have your gown, you have a cap, plus you have shoe covers on you. When you're doing a procedure, you can hardly see because of all of the sweat. You have difficulty breathing. Take care of yourselves. The hospital is so crowded right now. We do not have space for people. People, take care of yourselves. Stay at your homes. Do what you're supposed to do. When you're at your home, isolate. Stop making people come at your home to visit you. This is very serious, and it is just so surprising that a lot of persons are not taking it as serious as it is. People, we are frustrated. We are tired. Every day I have to leave work. How late? I have so many things to do, and I am just one person, and I have so many persons to take care of. Obviously, care will be compromised, and it is no joke. We have limited staff, we have limited resources, we have limited PPEs. I don't know what to tell you again, but take care of yourself. It is really frustrating. And it is really frustrating to see that we are trying our best at the hospitals, and persons are still going on social media and talking about the nurses this, the nurses that. We are trying our best. So do your part so you will not have to come to the hospital. And some persons are saying we are causing patients to die. That is not true. Do you know the psychological effect it has on you to constantly see persons taking their last breath? I can tell you, most days when I'm at work, I want to cry. Because I am seeing we are trying our best, we are doing so much, yet still persons are just dying.
And, you know, when you have somebody speaking to you like that, speaking about her experience and, you know, really detailing what it looks like on the other end, I know it must be difficult. We've had calls from people who have lost family members, loved ones and friends to COVID. But, you know, when she speaks like that, imagine having to go to work every day to that reality, and you will still get people who don't believe, who will do what they want anyway, and to see death. You know, recently it has been every single day, and there is no escaping that reality. And, you know, in putting it into context, I know that this people use it as just numbers and say, you know, look, we're over 100 people, look, you know, people are dying and that sort of thing. But I don't think they truly understand the enormity of what this means, that behind every number there's a family, you know, grieving. That's in some cases children that have to live without a parent, and so many of, you know, that psychological impact on a country. But what is it? Where are we compared to other parts of the Caribbean, within the region? Where are we, and what are we doing wrong?
As of Thursday, September 16th, 2021, St. Lucia had recorded a combined total of 148 COVID-19 deaths and COVID-19 related deaths. That included 106 COVID-19 deaths and 42 related deaths. St. Lucia recorded its first COVID-19 death in November 2020, which means that these 148 deaths were recorded in under 12 months. Most of these deaths are St. Lucian nationals. At least one of them was a British tourist who was found in his hotel room. Only 2 of these deaths have been fully vaccinated people, and the Ministry of Health assures that neither died from the vaccine, but instead end-stage chronic illnesses. To date, the youngest death recorded was a 21-year-old male, and the eldest a 100-year-old male. Over half of the recorded deaths, 91 people, have been males. The number of deaths in St. Lucia is especially alarming when compared to other countries in the region. Barbados has recorded 51 deaths, St. Vincent has recorded 13, and Dominica 8. The number of people succumbing is not the only cause for concern. In the past 16 days, St. Lucia's positivity rate has been far higher than any global recommended standard. That rate simply means the number of positive cases as a percentage of the total number of tests conducted at a given time. The WHO says levels are relatively safe when the positivity rate is 5% or below. But for the entire month of September, St. Lucia has been far off. In fact, on September 6th, the positivity rate was 54%, meaning that more than half of all samples tested were positive. The lowest positivity rate for the month of September was 18%, recorded on the 8th. The number of active cases is also of increasing concern in St. Lucia. Since September 2nd, St. Lucian health authorities have been managing over 2,000 active cases on any given day. The highest number so far is 2,567. On Thursday, September 16th, the number of active cases was 2,403. Keep in mind that health authorities are also battling the presence of the Delta variant, which is highly transmissible. Based on regular press releases from the Ministry of Health, the daily number of recoveries is usually lower than the number of new cases. This makes it impossible to record any sort of notable decrease in the number of active cases. The number of active cases in recent weeks is often many times more than the combined capacity of both the hospital and the government-run quarantine and isolation facility. This means that thousands of St. Lucians who are currently infected with the virus are isolating at home and may not have the proper facilities to do so without infecting others.
With the influx of increased numbers of COVID patients, and then we're severely understaffed. So it's very hectic. If we can get a little more assistance with additional staffing, because for me, I'm very compassionate when it comes to patient care. Okay, and if I have on a day of 18 patients to 2 nurses, it tells me that I would not be doing my work to the best of my ability. Some of my patients with respiratory distress, so these patients will require oxygen level. Okay, yes, we have oxygen, but we can have patients that are very critical that requires as much as 15 liters per minute. And if I put a patient on 15 liters a minute, how long would such a tank last? It's not going to last that patient throughout the day.
The daily average consumption of the oxygen tanks, we use at least 274 per day, which is very costly. We have some patients on high flow that consume 1 tank in 40 minutes. So if you would do the maths, that means that person actually uses over 20 tanks a day just because of COVID.
So, and we have been seeing with the increase of these numbers, we have been having a lot of patients who are on high oxygen demand. Okay, at 15 liters per minute. Other than that, we have patients on 3 liters if we have COPDs or patients with other respiratory problem. They can go from 3 liters to 5 liters. But what we're seeing recently, as in 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, is those that are high oxygen dependent. 2 of my wards are positive ward. I have patients on these wards, and patients are telling me, "Nurse, COVID ain't real, you know." I'm like, excuse me? But if you're here, it tells me that your PCR is positive. It tells me that you're positive to COVID. How can you tell me COVID is not real? So we have a lot of patients and persons who still believe COVID is not real. So this tells me, so when they're on the outside, they live carefree. Yes, and they come here, they're suffering. We don't want to see them suffer, but then there's only so much we can do. They have to play their part as well.
So hearing these situations, these thoughts from our experts right there, and also knowing where we are in the middle of everything within the region, we are the worst off. People are dying, and the numbers are of course scary to many, many people at this time, and there's a lot of grief being felt. But the question is really, what is going on? Is it something that can be done? What can be done to make sure that we're not seeing these kinds of numbers? And even when you see certain places have COVID numbers and there is a rise, they do not get that number of people dying. So what is it? And I think with all of what is being said, you will get some people, of course, using the politics and saying, you know, some things are not being done. Look, they made promises and where is it and that kind of thing. But I really want to take a look at what is happening and also what is not. What is missing? Why are we seeing some of this? If not a complete reason why, but what's a contributing factor? What are we missing? And I believe, as we have seen, there's the human resource sort of effect that we're seeing where people are leaving. Some people are sick, they cannot do the work. I know at St. Jude, some doctors, some nurses are at home. We have the police officers at home as well. Some people are leaving the job. The young lady we've seen is only just one example of many other professionals who are frustrated with everything going on. I believe, and I've said this before, that there at least has been a lack of proper priority in St. Lucia and with dealing with our medical services and dealing with COVID. And one of the major things that I see is when we need it, and we still need, and we're seeing the effect of it, we need ventilators. And that is something, it's the last sort of measure. That's what I've read in the research that I've done. But we are told by our experts that we need 200 ventilators on island to deal with a crisis like this, and maybe 100 if we even have a fighting chance. So we have to decide, you know, where are we now and what do we need and why don't we have more? But before we do all that, let's focus on what is it exactly and how could it help people in crisis levels and severe levels of COVID. Because what we've said before is that people who get to the crisis situations and even severe situations, they very seldom come back from that in St. Lucia. And I want to know why, and from what I understand, from what I hear from the health professionals, it's because of the lack of ventilators. So let's take a look.
Mechanical ventilation, a crucial practice in modern medicine. To appreciate the value of ventilation, we need to understand how the respiratory system works. We breathe by contracting our diaphragms, which expands our chest cavities. This allows air to be drawn in, inflating the alveoli, millions of small sacs inside our lungs. Each of these tiny balloons is surrounded by a mesh of blood-filled capillaries. This blood absorbs oxygen from the inflated alveoli and leaves behind carbon dioxide. When the diaphragm is relaxed, the CO2 is exhaled alongside a mix of oxygen and other gases. When our respiratory systems are working correctly, this process happens automatically. But the respiratory system can be interrupted by a variety of conditions. Sleep apnea stops diaphragm muscles from contracting. Asthma can lead to inflamed airways, which obstruct oxygen. And pneumonia, often triggered by bacterial or viral infections, attacks the alveoli themselves. Invading pathogens kill lung cells, triggering an immune response that can cause lethal inflammation and fluid buildup. All these situations render the lungs unable to function normally. But mechanical ventilators take over the process, getting oxygen into the body when the respiratory system cannot. These machines can bypass constricted airways and deliver highly oxygenated air to help damaged lungs diffuse more oxygen. There are two main ways ventilators can work: pumping air into the patient's lungs through positive pressure ventilation, or allowing air to be passively drawn in through negative pressure ventilation. In most modern ventilators, an embedded computer system allows for monitoring the patient's breathing and adjusting the airflow. These machines aren't used as a standard treatment, but rather as a last resort. Enduring this influx of pressurized air requires heavy sedation, and repeated ventilation can cause long-term lung damage. But in extreme situations, ventilators can be the difference between life and death. And events like the COVID-19 pandemic have shown that they're even more essential than we thought. Because current models are bulky, expensive, and require extensive training to operate, most hospitals only have a few in supply. This may be enough under normal circumstances, but during emergencies, this limited cash is stretched thin. The world urgently needs more low-cost and portable ventilators, as well as a faster means of producing and distributing this life-saving technology.
It's a massive strength for every health system, because we see every day 50 to 60 patients who come to our emergency department with pneumonia, and most of them are so severe they need very high FiO2 of oxygen. And so we have to reorganize our emergency room and our hospital in 3 levels of intensity, as you saw.
I never felt so stressed in my life. I'm an intensivist, and I'm quite used to, in intense moment and choices, and people are critical and will die without any, treatment, and you make the difference. But when you arrive at this point, you realize that you are not enough, and maybe we are 100 anesthetists here. We are doing our best, but maybe it's not enough.
So once again, this gives us an understanding of what this is and why it's needed, and also why there was a race around the world. The leaders were looking in all ways a tout kwe to try to get one of that, knowing what would happen there. I remember too Mia Motley trying to get 20, but that was blocked by the United States, and then Rihanna had to come in and save the day trying to get ventilators as well. So people trying to get in all ways, in all manners that they can, and understanding that, knowing where we are, you have to ask, what have we gotten? I know for now, still a bit early, but it will not, it'll not be a reason that will hold any weight very soon with this current administration, where you want to know, are you guys going to try to get some more? What is going to happen with this COVID situation, and what sort of progress will we be making? We might say, and that is a fact, that there has been this mismanagement of funds. We've seen that with COVID. People didn't care, but we needed ventilators, and we did not get that, even while the former Prime Minister understood the enormity of the situation and how these ventilators were needed.
Mr. Speaker, it's amazing to me, Mr. Speaker, but maybe I should not be amazed. I continue to want to be surprised that members on the opposite side that are as experienced in international affairs as they are, who understand what's taking place, that even when CARICOM tries to work in a unified way, we're still up against a difficult time. We saw, Mr. Speaker, when we all needed ventilators, what had happened. It was shocking to me to see Governor Cuomo on TV talking about how other states and how other countries were outbidding New York to get ventilators. Not that it made me feel any better about what we were going through, but it made me appreciate how competitive this world had become. And we saw that when the demand for ventilators went down and there was a huge production in ventilators, eventually the prices came down and the ability to get ventilators became easier. And we did so.
So the need for ventilators clearly being expressed by the former Prime Minister, and that was interesting too, hearing him say that there was more production of ventilators and the prices went down because of it. So what exactly, how many did the government get in a time of COVID? And it is a grand total of 5 is what I understand, and for that to be where we're going, even when the prices were decreasing, he said it himself, we got 5 ventilators for a country dealing with COVID. You might ask, maybe it was, how much was it, $1 million we couldn't afford? We've spent millions on other things. We have spent millions on DSH. We've spent a lot on a lot of other things, on the roads. It costs between $25,000 and $30,000 for a ventilator, and we got 5. And like many things during this COVID pandemic, we had to rely on the goodwill of others. La charité, pour vaccine te vini, lot set moon. We got things from different people, but we hadn't seen the government going out to get any, take the initiative and be proactive and try to get any with the vaccines, and yes, even with the ventilators. So, like I said, you got some donations of ventilators from the owners of Sugar Beach. You had some given by the Taiwanese, about 20. Sugar Beach gave 15. Different people trying to give and trying to fill a void. But in what I know, looking at where we were, we needed a government that cared enough to go out there and look out for us. But just so we can see the goodwill of others giving in a time when we needed it the most, these ventilators, let's take a look.
The Ministry of Health and Wellness recently received the generous donation of ventilators from English businessman Roger Myers. The donation of ventilators is expected to provide St. Lucia with the flexibility in treating patients affected by COVID-19. Roger Myers applauded the government of St. Lucia for the work undertaken to battle COVID-19 on island and says he is pleased to play a significant part in this effort.
We purchased these units from a company called Ventilator in Kentucky, and I've never tried to buy anything before that everybody else in the world was trying to buy. And it was so difficult because I purchased 11 and the people at Avanti donated a further unit, a portable one that may be, I suppose, useful in emergencies. I think it's about the 12 doubles the capacity on the island. I'm not sure about that, but that's what I've been told. And my real prayer is that this is a complete waste of money and that they're never needed.
Minister for Health, Senator the Honorable Mary Isaac, commended Roger Myers on his efforts to provide such valuable contribution towards St. Lucia's response to COVID-19.
It is quite a sacrifice, and it is an immense gift to us, the people of St. Lucia, that Mr. Myers is making here this morning. And of course, you see, he even got a little emotional saying that he hoped that we never have to use these machines. These machines cost, when you're looking at the shipping as well, in excess of 25,000, is it US dollars? US dollars. And we are getting 12 of these machines.
Consultant anesthesiologist Dr. Becky John Baptiste expressed heartfelt gratitude for the ventilators and says it will go a long way in saving the lives of patients.
I would like to thank Mr. Roger Myers on behalf of the Department of Anesthesia and Intensive Care for this gallant and timely gesture. As we all know from the plethora of reports and news articles, mechanical ventilators are an integral component in the management of patients with acute respiratory distress syndrome from severe COVID-19 disease. While we pray that no citizen will be diagnosed with this condition, these ventilators will now be added to our arsenal as COVID-19 remains a threat to us all. Thank you very much.
The Ministry of Health will receive a total of 12 ventilators to be utilized in the intensive care units.
So once again, at this time, I just want to, thank people who decided to donate in that regard. And when you look at what is being donated, we've gotten about 50 when you add to the 5 that a government has decided they decide to get. So I think at this time, it just really goes to show that giving nature, it really does have a place in this time, and it does have a place. But what also has a place is the priority of a government, and knowing that they should at least respect the citizens enough to take the money and spend it on healthcare. So when we were talking about the respect for St. Lucians, making sure that you put horses before healthcare, it's right there, and we need to ask the question, is it part of the reason why we are in this situation because of a lack of priority or misplaced priorities with this former government? It is a legitimate question that we need to ask. And again, I do not want to, circle around the issue. The priorities were horrible at that time. That, we looked at the outward thing. We saw, St. Jude's, but the substance was not there.
And it comes back to the same issue, and I think back to St. Jude Hospital. St. Jude Hospital, which was being built, which was 80% complete back in 2016, July of 2016, had designed in it an oxygen generator so that and of course medical gas lines, so that you would never have a situation like this occurring. Because you should not have people effectively not being able to survive, not being able to get oxygen because you don't have maybe a porter to bring it to somewhere, or you don't have the manpower. And this is what we're getting out of this statement, that clearly not enough human resources, not enough resources on a whole, no oxygen generator in a respiratory hospital, go figure. Lots of nice, beautiful paint. Hospital looks nice, but can it function? Is it delivering what it needs to deliver as a respiratory hospital? And it is sad that we are now at this point, after dealing with March the 12th, I think is going to be, a whole year since the declaration of the pandemic. January the 30th, declared a matter of international health concern by the World Health Organization. We've been in this for over a year now. And clearly, we're unfortunately seeing the outcomes of not having sufficient preparation and sufficient planning within our health sector.
So at this point, too, you have to ask yourself with, the 6 technicians that I think we have qualified to deal with the ventilators, because it's one thing to get the ventilators, it's another to get people qualified to deal with it, and to deal with even the modern ones that that are out there now. So what is going to happen? I know they'll say, "Oh, the election's finished. Why are you still talking about that?" So whatever. But the point remains that in all of that, we are seeing the effect of an uncaring government. And I have to talk about it, but I do know that right now we have to ask the current government what is going to happen. It's one thing to say Shasney was shit, and he was. It's one thing to say that he didn't care about solutions, and he didn't. It's one thing to say that he had mismanaged the finances of this country, which he did blatantly. And we will talk about it in the way that is honest. We will continue, and I hope that you will call so we can talk about it. But I need, like many other people, need to know what's going to happen now. There is a need for the ventilators. Will we do that? Can we do that? There is a need for something in the South. People need a respiratory clinic. Something has to happen in the South that, isn't there. We need more area space to get people with oxygen tanks and all of that. Can the stadium be retrofitted to have those gas lines that Calix George Jr. was talking about? Can we, make that happen instead of having people carry gas tanks and needing human resources, needing men and manpower to do that? Can that happen even as we wait for the hospital to finish? Or can one of the buildings be used there for that purpose? Retrofitted early, get people in there, because it is a crisis. We are in crisis situations and people are dying. And even as I understand that, you have to say to yourself, and I think there is a need for an opposition that knows, that says something is wrong, but we are not seeing that. We are getting people who will use all different ways, especially now religion, maybe because it's already worked for them, using religion to gain political points. And of course, it started very early on with Sarah Sahant saying, you know what she said, play the clip.
We are living in unprecedented times in St. Lucia. The church is definitely under attack.
Tighter curfew restrictions are not sitting well with devoted Catholic and ex-Castries Central MP Sarah Flood-Bobre. In a second video release denouncing the 24-hour Sunday curfew, Flood-Bobre says that she has taken steps to get church officials involved in the matter.
There is definitely no justification whatsoever for an all-day curfew on Sundays as distinct from other weekdays. Ever since my last public statement on this matter, I met with the Vicar General, Monsignor Michel Francis, at his request. The meeting with Father Michel was very cordial. Father Michel was gracious and fatherly. I have since followed up this meeting with a letter to Father Michel, copied to the Archbishop, His Grace Robert Rivas.
Flood-Bobre, in her missive to the vicar of the local church, states, quote, "The church needs to speak up, Father. We must defend Christ and his church," unquote. In her letter addressed to the Archdiocese, she states her intentions to go on a 30-day prayer and fasting mission, where her prayers will seek to fill church officials with God's grace and encouragement to defend Christ and his church, quote, "especially in this hour," unquote.
In this letter, I have outlined my next steps as a response to the protocols which have just been issued. I will be making this letter public so that all St. Lucians can read it.
The two-page letter was attached to the end of the video release for public consumption. The letter also states, quote, "During this time of dedicated prayer, I will be making a personal pilgrimage to all churches on island. I will especially remember His Grace, Archbishop Robert Rivas, in my prayers. Please, Father, I ask that you also keep me in your prayers," unquote. The call for a review of the 24-hour Sunday lockdown comes as the island continues to battle against the fourth wave of the pandemic, which has infected thousands and claimed the lives of a number of St. Lucians. Solange Alfred, HTS News Force.
Now, you could dismiss Sarah, Sarah Panayapoufe, she wants some time on TV to talk. I don't know. So you're going to say you're going to do a pilgrimage around the country and saying, why Sundays, but at the same time, we've spoken about the hypocrisy. I don't have time for that. We want to open for calls in a while. But this sort of thinking, it's not something that can be dismissed because people are taking their time. I find the United Workers' Party taking their time to bring this and make this into something else. When Sarah says that, you know what happens? Other people taking that bullshit and they're running with it and finding their own spin and doing whatever. And this next clip is just one example of the madness that goes on when people use religion, even as people are dying. And for those hypocrites, people say, lot tut lot moon. When we speak of Christian values, of being there for somebody, of being there with people who are in need, of feeding the poor, of helping feeding the hungry and helping the poor, and all of that sort of Christian values, I do not believe in what I have seen of the former administration. And yes, I need to talk about it. You can call it politics, but it's not politics, it is policy. There was no help being given to the people who needed. There was no we can see right now with the ventilators needed, we did not care to get any more, even when the prices were going down. We go and spend 7 million on vaccines that we ain't get the vaccines yet. Menu buy 6 January. Y'all give my money, your money, our money to your friends for vaccines, and it's not there. Painting buildings and there is not any equipment needed in there, any equipment that is needed. La Pani, y'all go and do, what you calling that, the thing, the donation drive or whatever you call it, the telethon. Sakivinanda, what y'all get, what y'all give, what happened? None of that. Miss Sarah Kaivini, aujourd'hui joue avec Didi, much has to be holy. What can I do by holy? It is insulting to me, but more so when you know this dire situation and people are using it. So once again, I think the St. Lucia Labour Party has gotten into, I will not feel sorry for you. I will not feel sorry for anyone who thought that, you know, coming in there, they would make a change. It's going to be difficult. People make the mess and you have to fix it. And it's not enough. It will never be enough to talk about what has happened. We cannot forget it. It has to be there. But moving forward, what do we do? Even as there is a United Workers' Party that doesn't care about anything other than getting back in your family. And using religion is just another part of that. And Sarah, her words, has continued to influence other people on the street. Listen what they have to say when they believe Sarah.
Having the churches closed, actually these are like, they are non-Adventist and they are non-spiritually. Because if we are strong people, strong believers, go to Revelation 14 and quote it. Because if we are strong believer, we have to learn to rebuke that, because that's a thing from the devil itself. Fauci, and that one, the billionaire Bill Gates and the Pope, all of them are the same same head. They make their head together, and there's a money-making thing behind that, because the amount of person that die, they get X amount of money. So it's to them, in them, it's okay to eradicate people, especially black people, and if these people, when these people die, then maybe they'll have the young family to claim the beneficiary. So they'll be taking that money and the family will remain with nothing. So that is a man-making thing. They create that on the jackasses to make people believe, okay. So I'm saying the Adventist pastors, if they have that strong belief, come out and rally out and tell people, let's rally out and let's stand for Jesus. So are they hiding behind they hiding behind the worker? Go and see the corner in the yard. So if the worker say yes in there, they lock in the door, go outside. Make sure you watch your Jeep every morning, because the coroner is taking the Jeep. So the other people, they are lack of faith, and the other people are going to perish.
Lady, what was being said there? But that is not all. Like I said, you hear more of it. The Sky FM shows that continue on. The narrative is changing and religion is being used, and people are calling, you know, Shasney as the Moses, you know, and, you know, we are now in this situation because God has sent a plague. You don't believe me? Listen for yourself.
Bon Dieu l'a gardé ce ici, mais est-ce que jamais vu un bon Dieu merci avec bagaille? Non. Nous allons faire plus majeur dans le pays ça. Pour instance, avant de comme ça, bon Dieu gardé ce ici, il résout un homme chassé, il résout chassé pour garder, pour protéger le monde from COVID ça. L'économie a boost up, l'économie IMF, World Bank, CDB, tout le monde veut regarder cette ici qui primaire l'économie avec Eastern Caribbean à l'opposition. Et donc, c'est une primaire projection pour le futur. Nous ne pouvons jamais dire avec bon Dieu merci. Non, nous disons que nous avons coupé tout de suite pour mentir. Si nous venons nous priser bon Dieu merci, nous venons travailler plus power. Bon Dieu, nous avons qui according to the madam, comme Moses s'est fait, là il faut dire aller délivrer ses petites mailles, ils ont oublié madame de tout bagage. J'ai oublié madame de tout bagage. Et tout ça qu'a fait, ils ont monté à mon chat dans ce radio en 28. Ça c'est pour ça qu'a dit mon 10, nous ne pouvons pas faire. 85 millions de montaments, pour maintenant, à condition l'application juste tombée, et c'est en réalité. Et personne n'a qu'à venir, qu'à dire rien, au confort de mon papa. Pourquoi faut-il l'église là, entre la terre, au confort de mon. Au bail mon, on a des enfants, au bail mon la foi. C'est ça, la paix. C'est le dimanche. So that moun pa gani la kwa yo gade sa ka pede kobode me la ou vene asu dimash pou ale church pastor guy preach nobody guy preach pou la kwa yo guy preach direct you pesa yo do pe la vila menu chen pop konti minute pop ya la Jesus ki mene nou pese pa sa exan nou pas a fe moti ka fe lesta. Mais de moi, ça, il est maintenant pour permettre aux chrétiens, permettre les dimanches, bien sûr, mais pas de dire, de pas de fort. Je want to have a surtout. Il y a des gens qui vont plus Canada, qui a fait tout le temps de l'accumulation. Personne ne va faire ces cabaouya. Personne ne va faire ces baïsas. Mais il y a pour faire les dimanches. Pour personne ne va aller aussi, mais on disait encore, la guerre, ça, c'est pas physique tout seul. C'est un spiritual warfare. Merci, cher. Se passe encore avec ces nombreux diables au temps de vous. Nous avons fait le bon Dieu, on a demandé pardon, les Bibles pour ça. Mon Dieu pas à vous et qui passe jamais fou. If my people that are called by my name shall want to humble themselves, pray, seek my face, and turn from the wicked ways. Yeah. Then, what we shall by the wicked ways, then, turn away from our wicked ways. Unless I can turn from heaven, and it shall come down and heal you. Then Moses allait prier. My God, Moses Padada, beside it, we have sinned against you. Yes. We, he made a choir there. And he left to aller and this Lord, we have sinned against you. Fait whole lot de ça. Et tout le monde va poser sur la posée dans le billet. Et il va faire. Mais demande, ça dit à je dois la venir. Vous êtes dans un talk show. Et vous m'a dit, I'm healer, a question. Moi, des Timothy, où tu es gardé ça, pareil comme ça. Moi, des Timothy disent, il dit, but I have the tip there, can I pay the tip? He said, no, you make your point already. You make your point, let's go. Où tu es pas de tip là, je dis, come, that tip là, qu'elle est supposée. Mais la mère, on va venir. Les personnes passent à dire, bon, il va jouer tip là.
There are certain things that you could say. You could say that, you know, the situation is where we are because of people doing what they're doing, because of the elections, the campaigns, the protocols that were lessened, people going out on the boat rides, you know, putting responsibility where it is, or what we are seeing. And you need to be able to hear it. You need to be able to hear that there are people, your Telma Arara, they have nothing else to do, but they will have their own supporters in this time to call what's going on there, call what COVID is, call it a plague, and calling it, you know, that you, St. Lucia, has sinned against God because they removed Chasney, and now we have a plague where people are dying, making it akin to Moses. And, you know, Chasney, they're like Moses, and look at how he leave his woman and his wife, and he came to help us. Exalufe. Put that together with the people on the street and Sarah and all of that, and I am telling you, how can you even expect to have any sort of unity in dealing with COVID when this is the kind of thinking that we have, when people are already dying, when you all created a mess already, did not prioritize? And you have to ask the question, is where we are, is it because of the priorities, misplaced priorities that we had that led us to this point? And when you have already made the mess, once again, you will use religion to make your point. I know for some that, you know, it wasn't, you could not hear it properly, but I did want to put it out there because Sky FM is going on its own, and I'm telling you, they do have a following, and I think we need to know what these people are saying, where they are in their mind. We'll open the lines now at 572-7588, and also you can call us at 484-7588, and they are continuing. It continues, and it just goes to show that this sort of movement to get people educated about COVID, to get them to, come in and get vaccinated, let the science matter. How can it even matter when that is the thinking of people? And it is disgusting to me. Exemunaka sevi bodye, and they don't even, they think Shasneki bodyezo. Shasneki bodyezo, and it is pathetic. It is pathetic hearing people use that kind of language, use religion for that kind of way, calling the people that we have lost, casualties of politics, and making a wrong decision because y'all didn't get to have Shastide so y'all can get the tikakada for y'all to eat the crumbs on the floor with your knees bending, toots. Let's take the first call. Good morning. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
How?
Hello?
Yes, caller, go ahead.
Yeah, good afternoon. How are you?
I'm all right, thank you.
Let me tell you, I am a little bit upset about what I just heard you played there. I am a little bit upset because I'm saying, could you believe what you played there? This thing was on a telephone call on Sky FM.
Yes, it was.
I couldn't believe that. Could you believe these are people who are, much of them that call in Sky FM are Seventh-day Adventists, and they're making of comment, and they are saying they have the truth. I am surprised. Praising a man you have talking about Shasne. Is Shasne a god?
To some of them, yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, Shasne is the most stupidest thing that ever happened to St. Lucia. These people thinking they have that kind of mentality and want to fit God in their business like that. I don't understand. You know what I'm saying? If you're talking, a lot of them, you listen to these people. Are these people educated? Are they morons? You tell me, election has wrapped up and the people have made their choices. You all don't receive this government. Shasne have made it worse for you all. You're talking about Shasne as if Shasne is... Did they say Shasne is a Moses?
Yes, they did. That he came to save his people and he left his wife and went to do God's work.
I couldn't believe some moron or some idiot could get on a radio and talk like that. And they want us to invoke the Bible. No Christian. The Shasne they present there is calling them jackasses, animals, idiot, the Shasne calling them all kinds of names. And then you're telling me he's their Moses? Where are these kind of people coming from? Are they living in St. Lucia? You mean to tell me when you speak something like that, trash like that, and you're talking about somebody entertaining that foolishness? This is sickening.
I agree.
Now the other thing about it is this with this Sarah Flood. This Sarah Flood. Tresha, have you heard about Synergy?
Synergy, yes, I have.
A few weeks ago, have you not heard when, or did you hear when Yadi and them all the people came on Yadi's show and querying about money that Sarah owed to them, that they work for? They come on live. The people are so angry in this central pastries area, going down to Roseau, working in the sun. They're there at 5 o'clock in the morning, no even water to drink.
Yeah.
Did Sarah ever take her time to address that if she's talking about the real God? And she's calling the guy his grace. The same guy where money is missing, and he want to go and retire in Trinidad, and asking for donations to make him rich to go sit in Trinidad. Who is his grace? Where that grace come from? if Sarah is so much holier than thou, she will need to understand that you are in the wrong religion. Seek the Bible the right way. Not invoke your Catholicism and believe it is truth. Catholicism is lies. There is no such thing as Sunday to worship. The right day to worship is the 7th day. This has nothing to do with religion but the truth in the Bible. If you would venture into these truths, you would not be worried about where the mark of the beast will come from and the Sunday law and all the things that you're talking about and all the lies of First Communion
Caller, thank
and all
you
this
very
kind
much.
of stuff.
Caller,
So what I'm saying,
on this one, I do not want to talk about what is the right religion, what is the right religion or what isn't.
If she would be sensitive.
Caller, let me just stop you there. My concern, you can talk about denominations, religion is a Christianity, denominations and everything.
I understand what you're saying.
People can have their Sabbath on Saturday. So, okay, let's not use Sunday. Let's use Saturday as a thing. It's not about the different days. If we're going to talk about Christianity, it is about bringing people together. It is about something bigger.
If she can be so sensitive about religion, what about your brother and your sister you have suffering?
Okay, talk to me about that. Yes.
Why you have these people working in the hot sun in our community? You started something called synergy. What is the meaning of that synergy? What has that synergy brought to the people? And all of a sudden you lost the election. You disappear. They're crying out. They are angry, ready to commit violence, maybe coming after you. I don't know. But they're out there in the media quarreling for you. Sarah, pay us, Sarah. Sarah, give us our money. You as a lawyer who represented that constituency, and you had going on, and then you have the people giving them a bull around.
Caller, I need to cut you off for now because I have other calls waiting. But
okay. But what I'm saying is, Sarah, pay the people. Okay,
agreed.
And not put up your religion. The sensitivity, the people are suffering. They need money. Pay the people.
Thank you very much, caller. I appreciate your concerns on that. However, I will continue to disagree with you on what is the right day. And, all of these things are personal. And when you're seeking truth, I know, Jay, I started my kinkies at one point. I went to turn Rasta. Then I went to Catholic Church. I went to Jehovah's Witness. I went to Pentecostal. When people are seeking truth in their own personal way, that's for them. And I do not subscribe to this what day is right and that kind of thing. For me, it's about spirituality. It's about treating people with respect. It's about truth and honesty. It's about the teachings of Christianity, not about the little things that people argue about, which is the subject of or the premise of all of the many of the wars that we're seeing. Something has to run. Something does run through these denominations, and it is love. And people lose sight of that. I don't want to preach, but for me, with what I feel and what I've seen, that is what we're seeing. And if you have to talk about love, with these Christian values, does it seem, like this administration and with Sarah and all of them, did you feel that love? Did I preach? Let's give the call. Good afternoon.
Hey, good afternoon, Trisha. How are you doing?
I'm all right. How are you?
Trisha, what is sad for me is after having dealt with Herman Gill, London, Bradley, all those guys in the south, from Shasney way up to the north. I mean, just to deal with getting a government that was on the backs of St. Lucia off our necks. And now we have to deal with another situation of lies, another situation with, I can't even, you feel like Moses sometimes. You already bring the Red Sea and you bring them to salvation, and then you have those traitors wanting people, to worship, other gods. I feel, should we now blame God for everything that has happened? Should we blame God for slavery? Because that's what they're asking us to do. Blame, God cast this darkness upon St. Lucia because we remove this thug from our necks. Should we now just do the same thing with every other thing that happened on this earth? God did it, to teach people a lesson. Yes, I know God has a history of teaching people lessons, but not what was happening to St. Lucia. You know, Alan Chasney and all his other, let me call them that, and liars and thieves, just need to understand that where St. Lucia was going was in a very dark place. And under the new administration of Philip J. Pierre and the St. Lucia Labour Party, we couldn't just come into office and, hey, jump, you know, into the helm and get things right. You have to now assess what was there and repair the damage. Those guys wasted a lot of money. They did a lot of harm to the country. Okay, and I thought we could have go ahead and just manage the country and dwell on COVID, which is the most important thing. But I think what is very important is what people like you are doing right now. We need to bring to light the deception that was there that is causing the problems right in this country. It is very. I thought we should have moved on from it, but no. I listened to them a lot because I think it is necessary because they do have a following. Because we now have to retrain the minds of those people following them to understand right from wrong, because they are deceivers. I just want to call to thank you for doing what you're doing. We need to continue doing that. Continue telling the people and preaching to the people of St. Lucia what those people actually did to the country that have us in this situation right now. Thanks a lot, Trisha.
Thank you very much, caller. I appreciate that. Let's take the other call. Good afternoon.
Yes, hello, good morning.
Good morning. Good afternoon.
Yes, I'm going to be quick.
Go
this
ahead.
is my issue with people saying that the vaccine is the mark of the beast. If they really wanted to give us the mark of the beast, they could use any vaccine that they administer to give us the mark of the beast. That's my point one. Number two, when it comes to the church and religion sometimes, right? There's been instances, and maybe you even have family members that have different last names because maybe your mother, they marry your father on time or whatever. That happens in St. Lucia in generations. That has messed people up in some cases where, you know, cousins have been together because, you know, you got his last name, you got a last name. So that's all I had to say. And also one more thing, right? This is another issue that I have. If you have an issue with a vaccine, talk to your doctor. Your doctor cannot give you anything that is unhealthy or not good for you. They can't do that because they can be sued, because they will be liable. So instead of listening to Tom, Dick, and Harry on the street, go to your healthcare provider, please, because they'll give you viable information.
I think that's great advice, caller. Thank you very much.
You have a nice day, Trisha.
Have a good one yourself. Thank you. Let's go to the next call. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tresha.
How are you?
Not too bad. How are you?
I'm all right. Thank you.
Okay. Tresha, your first caller said something to the effect, well, asked the question whether the people who are spewing all this kind of foolishness, those lies, those disgusting lies, whether it be on Facebook, whether it be in the media, wherever they were doing it, he asked the question whether they were morons. Tresha, they are not. Those people are not morons. Those people are not fools. Those people know exactly what it is they're doing. Many of them are intelligent people who are looking to fool people because they believe that the vast majority of solutions are morons. They believe that the vast majority of people are fools, of solutions are fools. So they can come spouting that kind of foolishness in the hope that they can deceive people into believing the stuff that they're saying. Tresha.
Okay, let's go.
C'est moun sa la qui a parlé toutes ces qualités bêtises ça là, dit toutes ces mensonges ça. Yo mais quoi là cette lycée c'est couillon. Yo même pas couillon, vous savez. Premier là fait comprendre. Eh bien il m'a dit question. Est-ce c'est moun sa qui a dit ces qualités bêtises ça là? Est-ce que c'est couillon? Yo pas couillon Tresha. C'est moun sa intelligent, mais yo quoi d'être plus simplicien. C'est couillon. C'est ça yo ka quoi et que ça qui est né simplicien. Pour simplicien quoi c'est bêtises là yo ka dire. And Tresha, that is why people like yourself, the government, other people, they must come out and keep speaking the truth to St. Lucians. They must come out and let us know as often as possible, whether once a month, whether once a quarter, come out and let us know what is going on and what they're doing at all times. They must let us know. They must continue debunking the lies being spoken by those people. Because those people believe that because maybe, and I say maybe, like you said, they're receiving crumbs, or they receive the crumbs from the table of Alan Shastney et al. They believe that for this to continue, they have to say those things, because they figure if they continue saying those things, they can fool people and cause people, like I saw sometime on Facebook, cause people to take to the streets, cause people to protest, cause people to create such an atmosphere in St. Lucia that it will hasten another general elections. That may be what they're aiming at. I don't know. But the thing is, the truth, I believe, Tresha, will prevail. And the government, the ministers, even those public servants who know the truth in terms of their job, in terms of their work, they must come out and speak the truth as well. Let us know what is going on. This act, what you call it now, the Information Act, where people who need information from the government, whether it be students, whether it be media people, and so on, they won't have a problem in getting the type of information that they want. The government must make haste to introduce that type of legislation so people can know for themselves, even without having to wait for government ministers or government people to have that kind of information available to them. I think all of that will help, but those things must be done. Thanks, Tresha.
Thank you very much, caller. We have another call? I mean, you have a point here when we're talking about that, and I'm in no position to speak on anybody's faith and everything else, but from where I stand, I feel like what matters in religion, with governance, it should be, truth, love, compassion. These things matter. And right now, what the United Workers' Party is doing is a manipulation. It's lies. It's the complete opposite of everything that we're talking about here. It is callous. It's fear. It's those sort of things that they are trying to get people to rally behind. That it is going to be very, very difficult to get people united. And at this time, this is what you need, to people to be of one accord. If you want to get vaccinated and you have your doubts, speak to your doctor. You do not tell people, you see, you didn't vote for Shastney, and look, the plague has descended upon us, that kind of thing. And meanwhile, you have the Champagnes and the Herod and E.T., they want to show that they have been loyal soldiers in the time when they were down. So at least Bordeaux, I got you and say, well done, good servant, good and faithful servant. Osas of lay. For them to what they were. I believe it's pathetic, but we cannot dismiss it like it doesn't mean anything. And at that time too, we need to look at the people who were there. The people who were there when horses were coming off a plane in AC. Money being spent for horses to come on a plane. Walking down in Viewfort, passing the St. Jude's Hospital and the stadium we have there for 10 years. Horses coming down. Millions of dollars spent for that to happen. And meanwhile, what were people there saying? Are you happy? We'll take the call in a while. Are you happy with what has happened? Are you happy when you went to DSH and looked at that? Are you happy? Do you feel spend dépenser aller bay cheval ek le fini moun kamo covid te la comment? If you've forgotten yourselves, these are just some of the people. Some of y'all were not on TV. I will not let you forget, and I will not let anybody forget. Let's remember what it was like on the first race of the Manji, that was the horse Kisaite. Listen to yourselves.
It's like a miracle for us. It's one thing that we have been looking forward for from the time it started.
I think we need more of that in St. Lucia. The young people was on tack. Everything was in place, and that I appreciate.
So I came here to see that the government of St. Lucia failed. And when I reached here, I realized this is the best thing that can ever happen to St. Lucia.
Well, I've never seen that before in St. Lucia. It's only on international television I've seen that, like in the outside world. But first time, it's very amazing.
Organization, I would say, boy, that's 100. The turnout is coming, man.
is coming. And I feel like in future it might be real big.
Well, I believe that this facility would increase the activities down south, that like more people would be drawn to the south because we don't really have a lot of attention down here.
For a first time event, I'm very proud to be a St. Lucian. I'm very proud.
We are ready for the start of the DSH Caribbean Star Pitons Cup and the rough.
The last one, Pitons Cup. It is the best race distance as far as American races are concerned.
Let's take the call. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Tresha. How are you doing?
I'm all right. Mr. Lubin, how are you?
No. You just have to expose me in that room.
Mr. Winston Lubin, how are you? The fat ass. Come on your way.
I'm beginning to think that... can I go ahead?
Yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm beginning to think that this GVD station should be censored, you know.
Yeah?
I mean, it's so ludicrous and embarrassing to have a national radio station.
Then you mean that Sky FM? Sky FM?
With the quality of armadillos that you have there. They are not even gracious.
Armadillos, okay.
Man, it's embarrassing to hear Rod Champagne and One Dr. Secret and the callers who call them. And I'm beginning to think that I mean, I don't know what to say to these individuals.
Yeah.
The nonsense that the callers spew, the nonsense that they themselves, you know, encourage. And we can't take this thing in this country. Shastney has been elected to represent Deriso. 3 sittings of the House, we have not seen him on one occasion. What are they saying about that? That is a good thing? The man has not represented the people that voted for him on 2 occasions in the House. And then you have a man from Swayzell, a woman who was so close a friend of mine. Man, I have disassociated with Bradley. Bradley is an embarrassment to the nation. Bradley should not be representing the people of Swayzell. I don't think, honestly, that he's giving them the quality and type of representation that they need. And I'm very sorry at the state we are in St. Lucia with regards to the behavior of the flabbos on the other side when it comes to the case of COVID. Shastney made a mess with COVID. And you had this Kokolo Rum they call Fede, who was heading the command center. He did nothing. And he comes up and talks nonsense. Having a press conference with 3 or 4 of them talking nonsense. The government is doing all what it can at its best to making sure that it can control the situation. And thank God, I mean, they have approved these 3 vaccines from Cuba. And I hope, and I know for sure Cuba is going to help St. Lucia in that regard with the vaccines. There's even one I'm told that they spray. For those who are afraid of taking the injection, they will just have to use the spray to help with their condition. But I'm very sorry at the things that I'm hearing on that GVD station. And I think the government should look at that station exceedingly closely. And that station must be censored. Must be censored, because the nonsense you hear there, it is un-St. Lucian. It is highly un-St. Lucian. And I just cannot take that one. We have to do something about that. I'll not be too long to show you guys. I know tell me it's already 28 minutes behind 12. But one thing I need to tell you before I go, since you have exposed me, I would like to have my first ride of 10:10. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, caller. I appreciate your contribution. I guess very soon you will. I'll let Christopher know that you want to use his vehicle. You see, that's what people telling your business, you know, because I'm using Chris's vehicle since mine that happened. So, you know, he said he wanted to ride in. Okay, so this is where we are. And I appreciate your contribution as well, Mr. Lubin. Always some good points there. And you're absolutely right. When these things are being said, it does sound un-St. Lucian. But then I don't think these people care about St. Lucia at all. They're not St. Lucian first and foremost. They are Shastney's lackeys. And in his absence, they want to show that while he was gone, they held down the fort. So Fede I may glasses as ye, you know, and now look the part of an intellectual and speak about COVID. You know, it's the lack of shame to me for these things to happen. And when you, of course, speak on Sky FM and you're hearing what is being said, there is a group of people who will follow what they're saying, but I just want the right thinking St. Lucians to know that, you know, despite what is being said, following the science is not a bad thing. Listening to your doctor is what is needed at this time. And, you know, with all of that being said, the protocols that have been in place, we need to look at whether they are being adhered to. We have another call. Let's take it. Good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon, Tresha.
How are you, sir?
Let me tell you, I would like all the trash that has been talking on Sky FM. I would like, and Shasney is not being in the house to represent his people, his constituency. I would like this government to have Shasney accountable for all these monies and all the lies and lies of St. Jude's. Because this Prime Minister that is currently in went down there and exposed all the lies, seeing it was really a box. And what they call the cladding, some fallout, or a whole bunch of stuff. You know, it is about time. You know, I just don't I agree with the man, you know, who called a while ago and talked about censorship. Because really a lot of the people that are calling, you know, thinking that the man is Moses and he's going to come back and take them to the promised land. There's no promised land. You know, and all he have to offer is ching, ching, ching. And you cannot even hear you hear anything about the ching, ching. So what I'm saying, in this time that we are living now with this pandemic, I heard you talking about these oxygen tanks
and the ventilators,
and ventilators and all these things, that there is even no space for it at St. Jude's. You know, I heard, I think it was on your broadcast, I heard 91 men out of 148? Am I correct? 91 men died. The oldest 100, the youngest 21. Young men. These people are talking, and if they're talking about, and you know, these comments they're making are both political and religious. And how can you be with, you know, and thinking that the political man is a religious man who is their friend and have their favor? That's what I don't understand. I really don't understand. All the lies and lies and lies we've been told right now. All the money been spent. It was a box. It is a box now. Who is accountable for that? If they found this guy liable and they do what they have to do with him, what are they going to do? Are they going to come out in the streets because the Moses is been arrested?
Actually, that's what I heard in that call right before I started recording. The caller said, you know, we need to go in the streets and protest against this, and this is a plague, and this is not, you know, this is not of God. So that is what's being called for.
But the plague was there even when Shasney was there, and he mishandled it too. And why would in a plague? Why would Shasney want to bring all the horses down in the time of plague?
Yeah. Caller, I once again have to say thank you very much.
Yeah.
I'm definitely over time.
No problem.
I appreciate your contribution. But as you know, we're getting ready to close. But you know, in all of this, I want us to remember that this is about personal responsibility at the very core of it. So let me just let's just take a look at what happened over the weekend there. Private zest ongoing, police coming and knock on the private zest trying to figure out what's going on, and this is the reaction that the people who were there had. So in all of this and in all what we're seeing, this, for some people, that is what they're doing, not adhering to the protocols. It is ridiculous in some parts of the country that this is ongoing, but I hope that people will continue to most of the people will continue to adhere to the protocols. I know we have an issue with the police officers, so in the end it really is about you. When you look at around you, when you hear the health professionals speaking, when you see what's going on, when you know the resources are not there, the equipment even to get you back from severe, to get you back from a heavy case of COVID, it's not there. Stop doing stupidness, please. Let's take our final call, I think. Good afternoon. Thank you for holding.
Tresha. Good afternoon. Let me tell you something. It is time that we enforce this, that in the government service, when you report for duty, that's when your salary starts. That's when you start your mileage start then. Alan Shastney has not reported for duty, and he should not have received pay for the time he has been out there. So when he reports for duty, that's when he should start getting pay. If you understand what it is in the public service.
I get you.
Right. So that crap that happened. You know this man. These people have the audacity to say this thing they're saying there. If this man cared about St. Lucians, you think he would have done what he did there? His action speaks louder than anything else. He has no respect, no regard for St. Lucians. And these idiots on that Sky TV are coming and perpetuating this nonsense. Huh? St. Lucians, come on. If you can accept that, well, I'll tell you something, the 43% will not.
Thank you very much, Cole. I appreciate that, and I hope you have a good end to your day. We are closing up, but at this time I just wanted to say, with everything going on, we have to keep on topic of knowing what was done and the millions of dollars done and spent on COVID. We know it being placed on roads. I will continue to say, la vaccine, sir. Kote ye, where the vaccines? If I can get the vaccines, can I get my money back, please? That needs to be addressed as well, and we need a lot of answers. But in all of that, recognizing that over the past 5 years, that this former administration did not care. Your party may up to now, as you said, caller, Shasne Paul Memvini Toavai. Over a month now, not representing any of the people, and then you have Bradley and all of them making excuses. So we need to know. But at this time, as we end, I just want to permit me to say happy birthday to my uncle. I love him so much, Jackson. I hope that you have a good one. I hope that you enjoy. You're not here right now, but I knew that if you were, yeah man, we shooted some, but you are not here, and I just wanted to use the show and just say thank you very much for always being so supportive. Oh, and that's him with my mother. He's always been a really great aunt. That's him with me and my sisters. You see me and my bald head? That's what I was studying, Ras. I just wanted to say I love you very much and thank you, and I hope you have a good one. But that's it for us. I know that it was not just your birthday. I know that the Prime Minister was also celebrating his birthday, and some people were doing that with him. Well-known people, celebrities and thing. One day I'll let somebody tell me happy birthday. That is a big real celebrity, big celebrity and thing. But we've come to the end of the show. I want to thank you as always. We're going to keep our head up, do what we need to, follow the protocols, and let truth reign. Let truth reign, even as people try to use fear and all manipulation tactics, use religion, serving on board, thereby baities, all of that. You need to keep the focus, and I will continue to call on this current administration, even with what has been done before, even as we know that a mess has been created, we need to move forward. I need to see people in Viewford get that space that they need, what is being done. So we need to, have some actions that will serve us in good stead with COVID. With that, I want to say thank you very much and have a good one. Hopefully, I'll see you tomorrow at 11. Bye.
Gee, here's the whipped cream you wanted for dinner.
Who said it was for dinner? please, let me get it this time.
Prime Minister Philip J. Pierre, today's your birthday, and from London we send you greetings from
Joseph Marcel. Mr. Prime Minister, Sakafet, happy birthday! And of course, most of all, congratulations. Your resilience, your persistence has paid off. God bless you. Thank you.
And in London, we're drinking the real champagne.
Yes.
So we're having a birthday party, your birthday party in London.
Yes.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you. Cheers.
Cheers.